Hey, Emma and Hassam, welcome. Wait, hold on. Hey guys. Have I seen the news? Do you not check my Twitter account? That is this is Opera. That's actually just the default. it's the Opera Chrome extension. It closes Chrome and opens up Opera. Today we are implementing Battle Royale. Did you see this? I totally messed up this joke though. I guess this is like in the new, cause like Witness came out on the App Store for iPhone and iPad. And I guess they had this this icon. I don't know. I just saw my friend post it and I wrote, you know, John looks like he's about to drop the hottest mixtape of the year. Except I should have totally said the hottest classical music album or spoken word album. Fucked up the joke. This is really funny. That face when you're too broke. When you're too broke to find out if you're fucked or not. Well, see, that's why comedians, you know, they're always that's why they have to keep doing all those shows, right? Because it's constantly you're always like iterating on your material. But when you're a Twitter comedian and you're mostly shit posting like me, yeah, there's always a better joke. Okay, so what I want to get started today. Oh, yeah, is that out? Okay, I gotta... Alright, so we started to work on this. Let me just take a second, you know, just to get warmed up. Let's do the, let's get the Italian translation for the game in. Let's, you know what, let's listen to that instead today. Monument Valley 2 soundtrack. But like, I'm on some like kill screen. Oh man. It's like, Echo. Yes, definitely check out Echo. Where did they say the, where did they announce that? Yeah, the game is really cool. It's not getting a whole lot of attention, which I'm honestly quite to be honest, kind of surprised by. Oh wait, that's Portuguese. Premi un tasto. Continua. Nuova partita. Carica partita. This is thanks to Conio Barco. Salva partita. Settings is impostazioni. Eschi. Abbandona. So let's just kind of warm up. Let's just do this, and then I'll start jumping into level design. Yeah, I think German is in there. Is that the... yeah. Oh, so we've got German as well. But they were saying, people were saying that it's harder to translate it without knowing all the terms, and like sometimes German and Russian, if you do like all caps, like what I've got in the game, it ends up being kind of weird. Oh, wow, there's an upper. That's pretty easy. Hey, Clairol. Yeah, but I highly recommend checking out Echo. I'm really... It's not a perfect game, but it does a lot of things that are different, and I think it's very, very innovative. I think, yeah, I don't think it's doing super hot at the moment, which is a real shame. But I think it's going to be one of those games that a lot of people talk about, like a lot of people who become developers are going to be talking about it. Did I just search for Steam on Steam Spy? And then Echo. Yeah, I think the... Yeah, it's like... It's sitting in 2000. I mean... It's still in the early days, but that's not... you can get kind of a sense of it, and just from the number of... just from the number of reviews, you can also kind of get the range. I would have expected it to be doing much better. But yeah, I think it's very well done, very innovative. Especially right now, it's only $22. His pun game is major. It's only $22. I would definitely recommend taking a look. Yeah, like I said, it's not perfect. There are some parts that are... It also is very clever with its limited use of assets. So actually converting string to cap uppercase is not as bad as I thought. You know, let's do... Ah, come on. I really hate the Windows auto full screen thing. Yeah. Seleziona. Seleziona indietro. Gameplay is just gameplay? Mostra reticolo. So huge thanks, of course, to Modalità per daltonici. Moto del cambio di gravità. Lingua peseta er default. I think I need them. Do I need those? Yeah. We do have yeah, exactly. So that's what somebody brought up about German uppercase. We're gonna do it where it's like it depends on which language we do the check. Tritanopia. These are different. We're just gonna have some like color settings for that. Instantea. Lineare. Concava. Conversa. Curve at S. So we'll skip all the languages. Oh, this needs to do the... for languages, I do... So languages are always shown in their native text. So for all of them, they always... Oh, fuck. So it's always shown like this. Oh, field of view is campo visivo. Full screen is full screen. Looks like VSync is VSync. Anti-aliasing is anti-aliasing. Risoluzione. So yeah, we do handle the it's called extended ASCII, and that lets you handle applica risoluzione. And audio, volume principle, volume della musica, volume degli effetti. So we're just kind of doing this to warm up. We're only gonna do one a day, but I figured, you know, if I do one a day, then I'll have like all of this covered, and then when the game is ready to ship, I'm not gonna have to worry about all this. Why did he put invert vertical look axis? I wonder if there's actually just a way for me to translate. I actually don't use I use Opera precisely so it's separate from my Chrome. Well, we're just gonna go through the... I'm just gonna do the Italian version. It's just kind of grunt work. I'm wondering if I can... I feel like there's probably a way I can do it. Maybe I can automate this. You know what? I will worry about this later. For now, I might just brute force it. Is there not really a more straightforward spreadsheet to JSON? Huh, let me try this. The problem is I'd have to customize this a bit, but oh no, first row is not the header. Oh, I see. So first row in the header here, I would do like English version. Okay, actually, this is gonna be much more helpful. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna do it. Yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna. You know what I should do is what I will do is copy the, actually, you know, better, rather than doing that, I think my time is better spent copying the string IDs. Because then what I can do is straight up organize this later and then do a JSON conversion. So actually, is there a JSON? I'm getting really lazy. One second, guys. This is worth the time. Come on, man. Okay, so it looks like, except the thing is that they're all oh, but I don't want it from a URL. Oh, so I gotta do the JSON to CSV. One second. Well, I'm glad I'm figuring this out now, because it will save me a lot of time later. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I guess I download this. Aha! In that case, thank you. So this helps. So what I did was I converted the English one. Okay, so we do JSON CSV. Okay, 1 second. 1 second. What do I... Okay, hold on. Hold on, friends. Where did you download this? Oh, right. And for Opera, puts it in its own little folder. Hold on. Mate, come on, where the fuck did this get downloaded to? Oh. There we go. Okay. Here we go. So, string version. Okay. So what we do is I'm going to take all this string ID and I'm going to copy and paste that. Alright, well thanks guys for, let me sort this out. So now we can just go straight up. Now I do need to insert cells, shift down. Now, if only there was a way I could choose how many cells to shift down by. Right-click the rows? Insert cells shift down. Okay, at least that is a little easier. Oh, fuck me. Actually, you know what? I found out. Here's a good way to do things. Which is we do yes, no. No, we do control mapper, so choose controller. Control mapper. Oh, man. just gonna go ahead and delete. Delete these rows. Yeah, except sure, it's fun, except this whole thing is also like a huge, except localization is just such a huge pain in the butt. You know? Like, seriously. This thing is the worst. Ugh. I am going to, but I'm glad I'm learning to deal with this now. It's much better than having to do this right before launch. Like right now, we've got plenty of time to fix this up. But so, yeah, and I'm glad that it's. Did stream just die? Oh yeah, I do have a way. I do have a way to generate an automated. Well, yeah, I do have a way to generate an automated thing in this list, but the problem right now is going from this to JSON. And because what the format it needs to take is everything needs to be set in. So like I basically don't want to. Yeah, I want to be able to easily generate a JSON from the spreadsheet, and that involves putting in the string ID, and I just want to make sure that they're all in order. Well, the system is done, but I want an easier way to deal with getting new data. So there's two things, right? So in the game's code, I've got this. This is the list of all the. This is the master list of string IDs, and I use this to generate I use this to generate the first JSON file. But now I'm realizing the problem with this is actually doesn't work very well because I don't want to have to manually input all the translated version. So we found this tool, and what it does is it imports, well, this is JSON to SCSV, which we were then, so what I did was I took this base one, I turned it to CSV, and then converted that into the column that I put in as the string ID because I didn't want to input that manually. So I've got the column in, and now what I want to do is just organize this spreadsheet so that we can do, man, where was the, didn't that guy have a, I swear we were just looking at, oh yeah, see this guy, you can take CSV and convert that to JSON once you have the top. But see, the way I want to be able to do it is just take the string ID and see, I need the string ID, the English version and the Italian version, and then we just put them in here, and then I have the format that I want. So it's just like in order to set it up like this. I have some formatting to do. So this might look like manual work, but I am mostly at this point just organizing this so I don't have to do even more tedious manual labor. And one of the things unfortunately I'm gonna have to have, the reason why we don't translate this is because we actually, for all the languages, we actually display the native. So English shows up as English, French shows up as Français, Spanish, Espanol. So generate this whole sheet to CSV and then generate your language JSON files from that. Yeah, I could, but I was thinking I would just like copy this sheet and delete the ones that I don't need. I guess I could, but I still want to, in either case, I'd still want to organize this first. You know, just kind of getting rid of like some of like this stuff. For example, that's a comment. I don't really need that. So, you know, we're going to put the description here. But yeah, I can then get a JSON file, and yeah, I guess I could do that once I have as long as I know the order. So yeah, I'll write a script for that, but first I just want to organize this thing, and then we can have everyone, yeah, that'll be nice because everyone can update this sheet, and then I can generate all the files. So good thinking. But I also like, but the problem with this right now is some of them are missing phrases. So as an example, like I've got 2 yeses. And that's because they both translate to yes, but they're used slightly differently. Yeah, no, you're right. So I am gonna make that, but for whatever I do, I'm gonna have to tweak this first. And I also want to make sure that we're not, oh yeah, I don't want to use capital. I think everyone just followed what I did here and then capitalized all the phrases, but I'm not sure if I actually want to do that. But yeah, anyway, there's 2 yes no and like an underscore yes no because they're used in slightly different places, and this is more like an organization thing. But you know, as a result of this, things don't line up. So I'm going through this and lining things up basically. Or like in this case, we have like keyboard/mouse. I don't know why he put mouse / keyboard. Maybe that's just what they do. Actions, drop, okay, random mouse button, left mouse button, mouse. See this? I need like yeah. Insert row. So that's mouse button, mouse wheel, and insert cell, shift down. But yeah, it would be actually that's a really good idea, and I wanna I'll figure that out. But that's tweaking the JSON files should be fairly straightforward once we've got once we've got this set up. It's fun. Remember how yesterday I was complaining about how with this stuff, every time you think you're done, you end up having then something comes up and it gives you more work, and it's exactly what's happening now. I'm like, hey, we finished localization system. Let's just kind of put in Italian, and then it's like, oh, wait a minute. Just double check. Yes, let's get rid of you. Okay, cool. Name 12320. Are you in the Discord? It's a little. We have a Discord channel for the game, and that's over there is much easier. To keep in touch with regarding this stuff. Cool, thanks so much. Yeah. Okay, done default. Let's put this stuff here. Now what I want to do is assign, I think all of this we can move up to here. So that, press anybody, controller assignment. Yeah, this is assign message, press a key to assign it, mouse button, assignment conflict, element already assigned, calibrate control window, calibrate 0, calibrate range, input behavior settings, now restore default, yes, this will restore default, assign controller sensitivity done, players, is that no, interesting, so let me see here. Yes, I will. I don't at the moment, but it's not so much, the problem is not this part. The problem is that with Chinese characters, we have to make an atlas that has all the ones that we would use. So that's the problem, because we're using Text Mesh Pro. So yes, I definitely want to I definitely want to do Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. But yeah, I need to figure out the atlas problem first. Players, controller, assign controllers. So that would be players, controllers, assign controllers up here, and then this guy is settings. Then we have categories. Is that dead zone, 0 slider, sensitivity, invert. And this last guy here would be calibrate. Fantastic. Hey, early 2018. We're getting really close. Okay. Excellent. So let's go ahead and delete this. You know, I'm gonna put like string ID English version, and I'll just put like translated. So this is more. He translated the Russian. So. Anyway, this is all good now. Hey, I can actually share the copy link, so anyone with this can edit. Now don't mess the I'm gonna make a copy just because I know, because it's all public. I don't want people messing with these columns. So yeah, this is don't touch. Is there? I wonder if there's a way to lock columns. You know, if I can do this and lock it. Yeah, it's already done. Protect range. What? I'd still... Ah, perfect. Only me. Okay, fantastic. So... wonderful, thank you. Cool, and then I think what we'll do is then I can generate these, and then we can bring them in, and we'll have translated stuff. So with Russian, I do need to figure out a Cyrillic atlas, and same thing with Chinese, English, Japanese, and you know, one of the things I'm going to add down here with Localization Manager is just a way to, you know, if a language is coming in, we would actually just convert it to upper. And you know, while I'm here, why don't I set a Nightbot and we'll just do localization. We'll just do what was that? Let me get the link. You know, and as we like start getting things, we'll just kind of lock them down. So everyone can type translation and then brings up the spreadsheet. Okay, now let's get to work. Good joke, Clairol. I saw that. Okay. Alright, sweet. Now. No, yeah, we've got the ASCII. So like for French it's extended ASCII. So that is handled, but we do have Alright, so before I start doing level design, I want to talk about the state of the game and the problems that I'm currently facing. Okay, let's talk about the game. So this is from an email I sent to somebody recently that was checking out the game, and it's a problem. Now, to be fair, so this past 2 weeks I had some like business inquiries into the game. So like storefronts, publisher type people, and they wanted a build. We don't need to go into the details of who they were, what they wanted, but they wanted to check out a build. And for a while I've been putting out these builds for beta testers, and I wanted to have like I wanted to handle I had like basically this area for more advanced puzzles. It was just kind of this, I put this door and I put a sign outside that was like, hey, only walk in here if you're like an advanced player. This is just for testing. Ignore this for a regular playthrough. So I put put it right here. And I had the door like right here. Now what I didn't realize was this is the opening room of the level. And so players start off, this is the first door they go through. Because of the placement of the portal over here, sometimes when you were going through that door, you would end up going through the portal. So you just end up in this like place in the middle of nowhere, like 30 seconds into the game. Like you haven't learned how to do anything, and then I've just like thrown you into the middle of nowhere. And then players have been like, what the hell? Like this is so weird. It just means like it means like that's for gravity change. It happens instantly, so you don't see the rotation. You just go boom out. And I'll add the details. So yeah, so that was the problem. So they got some of the feedback. They were like, and I knew this because people were messaging me. They were like, what's up with this weird thing of being like, what's with that island that just pops in? And I'm like, what island are you talking about? So they were like, man, we think this is like a little bit too early to give feedback. It still's got multiple bugs. So I'll just talk about the email I sent them. So, I said, okay, I know what the problem is. It's actually, like, I had added this portal, and I didn't realize until after I released the build. And the thing was, I was in the middle of working on the localization system, and that would meant, like, I would have had to push, which was, like, screwing up the UI, right? Because sometimes if it, like, doesn't find the thing to text to localize, then it totally screws up the UI. So I didn't want to push it, with the broken UI, so I thought, okay, you know what, I'll just finish the localization system. And we were also working like level loading and unloading. That also wasn't done. So, but here's the important stuff: the status of the build. So most of the technical systems are in. So we were kind of just going through a burn list. As you can see, this is our polish. So. Red, we've always used red in the past, like here, that means like priority, and this is like secondary priority. So you can see we don't really have anything that's like totally major, right? So, optimize stair prefabs, look into collision culling, doors don't will wrap, they don't, optimize the anti-aliasing stuff. So it's not, Yeah, they're all just kind of ways to make the game run better and run faster. Well, so the problem with it is a good lesson, and I wanted to. The problem is I was using itch.io to distribute, and as far as I can tell, itch doesn't let you do. Itch doesn't let you hold multiple builds at the same time, right? So like I'm trying out new things with the playtesters, but that means like the dev press, they're gonna get that one. Yeah, I mean it's sort of it's just kind of unfortunate. It was like the 5 builds before this one, they all worked well, but I wanted to try this new thing, and I missed testing it. So I mean I could have just gone back, but I didn't bother with it. So they're all like but you know, I wanted to just kind of go over these kind of I explained to them like what the status of the game is, and I shared with you guys here. So yeah, you know, we're going through a burn list for technical stuff. My focus is now on level design, especially having finished the localization system, level design, pacing, and art. So we're creating moments that drive player forward. We're not quite at the serious QA stuff. You know, the QA stuff is where like most of the game is running well, and then we, you know, bring in someone professionally to kind of go through that and try to break the game. Right now, you don't have to try to break the game to break it. Let's talk about the status of everything. So technical, all the major systems, they're done and they have the final architecture. You know, for example, the level loading, for a long time, it did not unload levels. It would load in levels. So the level loading has gone through several iterations. The earliest version was you go up to a portal and then it would load the next level. But like we were just doing straight up asynchronous level loading in Unity. And if you've used asynchronous level loading in Unity, you'll know that it doesn't really work that well, and there's not a whole lot of options to do with it. You've got like 4 choices. It's like high priority, low priority, medium priority. And even with high priority, you'll still get that hitch. And it's also really bad in the editor because the editor doesn't do actual async level loading. And so we'd like go up to a level and it'd just be like, the game would freeze for 2-3 seconds. I mean, it used to freeze for like 2 minutes. But, you know, we got it down to like 2-3 seconds, but it was still too long. So that was the first version. So the second version of the level loading system, what we did was we loaded all of the levels at the beginning. And that was fine because the game, you know, this was like we were demonstrating at events and conventions, and I only had like the first 2 levels done. So that was fine. We could just load both levels at the beginning, and then if you had to switch between them, you know, they were already loaded. So that was a very straightforward transition. Yeah, and then like fast forward, then we started having like 20-30 levels. Well, now that we've got 30 levels, we can't upload all of them in the beginning. Like, you know, the load time was starting to be, it was like with 10 levels, it was starting to be like a minute, and that's already, you know, that's not going to pass TRC. You know, like one of the things, you know, a lot of console games, their loading screen, they'll show stuff. It's like, oh, here's a tip. And the reason for that is because you have different required times depending on what you're showing in the loading screen. So for example, if you've got a blank loading screen, I think you can, I think that can only last for like 5 seconds. Like, or maybe it's like 2. Like 5 is a kind of a long time, but you know, because it's like, if it's longer than 5 seconds, people start to think that the game is broken. Or, you know, if you have a loading screen with some movement, then I think you can do like 30 seconds. And then beyond that, you have to have some interaction. So there you get the very minimal, like, press A for the next tip. You know? So I think a lot of that stuff is like TRC things. A lot of these conventions. But anyway, loading everything up front was like, it was, once we had kind of a big chunk of the game in, it was starting to take 3, 4, 5 minutes, just too long. Anything above a minute loading feels like eternity. Like, I was like, you know, there's like when you open up the game, it shows like William Cheer Studio. Now, I'm not just showing that to show that. Like, yeah, okay, I have an ego. I want you to know I made the game. But we are loading stuff in the background while that's going on. And this guy was like complaining about it on Twitter. To me, you know, I showed it, I was like, yeah, I think it's fine. You know, I have kind of these like transitions between panels, and he was like, you know, the whole thing took like, it takes like 15 seconds to get to the start of the game. And he was like, well, if you have to do something on your phone and it takes 15 seconds, would you be okay with that? Which, first of all, is different. You know, this is like sitting down watching a movie. You know, you got the opening. It's not just like it's not like Snapchat. Yeah. Anyway, difference in philosophy. So we were loading everything up front, and that did not work well. That did not scale well. So what I started doing was we would do dynamic level loading. So it's like as you get into an area, then it would load the neighbor levels, and that worked well. We load in the level in chunks, so there was never a hiccup, and I got that from Firewatch and Inside. They I don't know what the term is. I think it's called like time slicing, but basically instead of, you know, loading the level one chunk at a time, you kind of like divide up into tiny bits and then load it like one frame at a time. So the entire level is loaded in over 60 frames, but which is only a second or two. So you can load that while the player is still quite a bit ways away, but because it's coming in at a very piecemeal, there's never like a major hiccup, which is ultimately what you want, right? You don't care if it's loading in, if it takes 60 seconds. You don't care if it takes 60 frames in the background, as long as the player doesn't notice. So we're doing that, so that was a big improvement. So that's like what, 4th iteration. That worked fine, but of course at some point, you know, if you were to play through the game in one sitting, that would mean that all the levels got loaded in, and that's just like, it's not that the logic can't handle it, but you just start getting like weird problems with Unity. You know, I don't know if it's like storing all this stuff in memory, even if it's disabled. Anyway, Unity starts not liking it when you have like hundreds of thousands of objects all loaded in. So we started doing, and that like obviously makes our demand for RAM a little higher. So we started doing, we unload levels. So that's in our new system. Once you're farther away from a level, we unloaded. But of course, like all that, the level loading ties into the saving and the like loading games and saving games, different from level loading. So all that system ties in. So we had to like re-implement that. So now we're finally done with that. We are on, I think, level loading and unloading. We got that in. Saving is working with that. We got UI, localization, gameplay, you know, mechanics. So all of that is in. So what we're doing now is just kind of cleaning up the bugs. So a lot of things like slip through crack, you know, be like maybe we're doing unloading and we forget like, okay, you can be in the Mandela room and you can have a box there. So if you unload the original level, then this like doesn't handle this case, you know. So we're just kind of cleaning up these bugs. Yeah, they slip through the cracks. So I would say technical standpoint, we're like 95% there for PC. You know, PS4 is slightly different matter, but we got these systems, we just got to optimize it. So it's all like, you know what, I would not include optimization in technical. So excluding optimization, I think we're just like in terms of functionality, we're 95% there. By the way, I don't know if anyone is still watching or if you guys have questions, but because there's not been any activity in the chat. But you know, if you've got questions about stuff I just discussed, feel free to ask. I get a lot of people emailing me and sending me DMs on Twitter, like asking for advice on starting a video game. And I just post a link to the to my Twitch channel, and it's like, look, this is a big question. Just come on stream and I'll answer it there. All right, so okay, so level design, pacing. This, I think, is the weakest part of the game at the moment. And this is both the most important part of the game and the weakest part. And you might be like, and so this is kind of where a lot of these discussions with some of these other people have been a little frustrating, because they're like, they're so held up on this stuff. They're like, what is, where's the story? Where's the, I got one, I won't say who this was. I'll just quote. This was from one of the, not the person, the team member, and they said, one said, there is no story. One said, and I quote, there is no story, no impetus to advance, no direction, no objective, unquote. Which is not exactly true. So, and I will explain. I'll explain why the most important part is currently the weakest. So let me talk about what's going on. So here, so we need to do like a lot of major tweaks. They're making path more visible, areas less confusing. I think right now I have way more content than I need. So it's a matter of trimming down. So yeah, and I don't get like offended when people say that. Like, that's the thing. I think I think one of the hardest skills, I think I don't like it when people are like, oh, you have to do this in games, or like, here's one trick. But I would say that the one skill that's super important, especially if you're an indie dev, is learning to be as objective as possible and not getting your emotions, like when, you know, I think I always see this when people, this is kind of a tangent, but like when the IGF feedback comes out, people are like, oh man, the judges didn't get my game. And you know, the statement, there's no story, no impetus to advance, no direction, no objective, you know, and you have to fight against your initial gut reaction, right? My gut reaction is like, this guy just did not get my game. Like, he needs to try harder. But really what's going on is not, no, so like, obviously he is having a hard time seeing the stuff that I am communicating. Like, there is an objective, there is a narrative, there is impetus to events, there is a greater goal that you're working towards, but obviously it is not working. So I gotta fix that, right? So I gotta sit down and fix it. So I would say like level design is like 80% there, because there's a lot of stuff and it's just a matter of like throwing things out and trimming it. Art, visual development, and I'll come back to this. So art, visual development, this is stuff this ties into the level design. So I'm talking about stuff like communicating information to the player. So a lot of times like players are like, you know, I have these like special advanced box later and you can do stuff with it that connect to like different parts of the level. And players are like, they don't understand they have to bring this box to that tree. You know, they're just like, these things are connected, I don't know. So that's what I'm talking about, visual development, visual communication. And that is an art problem that ties in with level design, but it's different than the art visual style, right? And I would say for visual style, you know, I'm pretty happy with it. I'd say that's like 99% there, you know, like honestly, there are places where I see the game can be improved and I want to polish it up. And you know, we'll do like color correcting and we'll clean up the UI and make sure that the button sizes and like the ratio of buttons to the title, it's all good, you know, in all the different languages. But that's all like very, very minor details, right? And that's like, I can find people who've done UI to do a pass and we'll get through that. But because I do want to talk about the sort of the latest visual art style, right? Which is, you know, we talked a lot previously about art style, and you had all this problem with the game looking a lot like Antechamber, and I don't think that is the case anymore. Like, you know, it bothered me for a while because it was true. The game did look like Antechamber. And there were a few things, and I'm catching this up because I've been kind of blabbing about this, but maybe some of you guys are new and haven't seen this. So let's take a look at Antechamber screenshots. So there are some things that I'm not going to change, sort of like the minimalist art style, the edge detection, and what is cool with this is that one point people were saying like, oh, you should have curves in the game, and ultimately I realized that that wouldn't have helped because there's this game Impresja, which doesn't have any, which has a lot of curves, but it doesn't matter, right? It's just that it's that white primary color and the edges, right? Like you can see this guy's got, this game has, and it's got the non-Euclidean geometry, but you can see here, like even though like Antechamber doesn't have any orange, or it doesn't have a lot of it, just the way he's sort of using the colors despite no 90-degree angles, I mean, except for that, right? No 90-degree angles in the architecture, in the geometry. It's like immediately people are like, it's, you know, I saw this and I immediately thought of Antechamber. So we got another game, Color Tone, that's also got very similar. Like again, it adds like a bit of shadows, but when I see it, I immediately think Antechamber. This one a little bit less than Impresja. I think the white has a big impact. And I think there's another game. It's a disoriented game. This I felt also, you know, I think when people see this, they'll say, oh, you know, it looks like Antechamber. So the question was like, okay, you know, if I'm using the edge detection, how can I move away? And I think with this stuff, it's really shifted. Like, you know, I'm still gonna get comparisons, but that's just straight up like, because there are very few other games with edge detection and like the angles, like, but it. And the test that I like to do is this this kind of like a squint test, you know, sort of where you like squint until everything is kind of blurry, and you ask yourself like, does that, you know, and I do this and like this really looks like Antechamber, but like this doesn't, you know, there are similarities, but I'm no longer like concerned with it, and I think but there are a few things I did. So like lowering the ambient light, so the internal spaces are much darker than they used to be. I don't know if I have images. You can even see here, like in the shadow, like that gray is just much darker than the, it's very slight, but it has a pretty big impact on like the overall feel. Just sort of like overall much darker, and that makes the lighting, that there's like a lot more contrast. On the shadows, really strong focus on shadows, and really strong focus on like exterior architecture, so kind of, you know, I think stuff like this all helps. And it's not sort of like one thing, or you can't just do one, that you gotta sort of have a whole bunch of them together. And yeah, and then of course with the I think as we started kind of like that abstract alien plant thing, that really I think takes it to a new area. Yeah, I still want to do that, but that's gonna come a little bit later, you know, just because that's sort of, has no gameplay and is straight up polish and it's only in small areas. So I gotta use it kind of intermittently, but that is, but yeah, I'd like to come back to that. It's more like if I have time. So I think again, as we're getting into this like abstract plan, like this just really takes it into a whole new direction. So I'm thinking like when I see this, I don't think Antichamber. Again, I know I'll still get comparisons because this is like, you can't make a first-person puzzle game without comparisons to Portal or Antichamber, but I feel it's really strong. And again, like here, you know, we have these levels. And these are all wonderful. Love. Yeah, and you know, kind of combine it with that. Yeah, it's like, you know, I could show this and people will still bring up Antichamber, and I'm just like, okay, I know it's not like, I'm not stealing Antichamber's art style, right? Because this looks more like Akira. But though I should totally do posters that look like this. You know, not quite, but like that's like the density I'm going for. So it's like, anyway. Yeah, like this stuff, right? This is very much what I had in mind with this, and I feel like that is closer to that. Yeah, and it, you know, honestly, at one point it did, but I feel like I've pushed it somewhere and it doesn't. Okay. Yeah, you know, like when I see this kind of stuff. Yeah, it is, and you know, and the game was a huge hit, right? It was like it's like you know, it's like with every first person puzzle game reminds people of Portal. The Witness and Myst, you know, it's just sort of like, it's just a in that genre kind of thing. You know, every gangster movie, like, oh, it's like Godfather, but with Chinese people. The Triads or something. So let's okay, let me go back to, so anyway, I feel like visual style is really solid. Yeah, like I'd love to do kind of maybe like better color grading, but all in all, you know, I'm pretty happy with the look. Yeah, I can keep polishing and I'll never finish the game. So back to what I was saying. So, okay, so yeah, this is kind of where things are at. And now let me go back to the level design, because that, I say that is the part, that's the most important part, right? That's the part that players interact with. The moment to moment is the weakest. So one thing I want to discuss is, like, I think an analogy to this is, because you might, so I know level design is the most important part. Right? That is what affects your experience. But in order for me to even get to that point where I'm designing levels, I have to have all of the tech in, right? I have to have, like, the boxes have to be working. They have to be working with the row wrapping, and you can take it from one level to another, and we load in that level, and like you're saving and loading, and I have the UI and all that stuff in the background, and it's like running at a reasonable frame rate. Like, I had to build, it's like the level design is the most important part, but that sits on everything else underneath. You know, I think it's a lot, and to me, the level design is an easy to solve problem. it's like, I think the equivalent is like I'm opening up a restaurant. And it's not done yet. I haven't, had my public opening, right? And I say, like, it's the Carl Sagan quote, if you want to make a pie from scratch, you have to first invent the universe. And I think game development is very much like that. Making a game is like making a pie and having to build the universe first, but at the end of the day, you're just judged on the pie. And it's like that. It's like people are like, they come and they try the pie, and they're like, the pie's not very good. And why would you come to and of course, like, you're coming to my restaurant to eat the pie. So obviously if the pie is not good, you're not going to like the restaurant. Like, you would just leave, right? Because the pie sucks. And it's like, that's what it's here for. But in order for me to be even at that point where I'm making the pie, I had to I had to build like gravity and the sun. And then it's like, okay, now we're like getting to a place where we're making the kitchen. And so, like, okay, like, the oven is not very good, right? So the oven, like, sometimes it just, like, burns the pie. So I like, haven't quite figured out how to make the oven. So, like, the pie is kind of screwed up because the oven's not very good. But it's like, do you know what I mean? It's like, I had to build, like, you have to, like, write the, like, molecules, systems, and then, like, invent water and the sun and, like, weather, and then you have like you got like grow soil and wheat, and like you do that, and then you process the wheat for flour, and then at the end of the day, it's like you're just like, now you're putting together, and the pie is what people see, and the pie is ultimately what you're judged at, but compared to everything else, it's the easiest thing to work on, right? Because it's like, okay, you get the pie, you try them, and they're like, okay, well. And what I mean is the pie is a solved solution. Like, it's a solved problem. So okay, it's like, what's wrong with the pie? It's too sweet. Okay, let's put less sugar. Okay, we make another pie, and it's like, okay, what's wrong with the pie? It's like too soggy. Okay, well, I think the reason is because we didn't put enough cornstarch. So let's just add like another tablespoon of cornstarch. So then you go. So then then the next pie is like, it's like the right amount of sweetness, and it's like the right amount of firmness. And they're like, I feel like it's missing some like polish, just like the je ne sais quoi. So let's add, oh, what is this? Like vanilla ice cream. So like vanilla ice cream to put on top of that pie. And then like, at the end, what I want players to see is this like really delicious pie with like vanilla ice cream and a cup of coffee. And they're just like walking, and they're like, oh man, that pie was so good, I'm gonna go back to that place and tell everyone about it. So first of all, Matt Triangle, thank you for the subscription. And Zesty, I basically just work on the game. I think about it all the time. So that's what it's like. So we are now at that point where we're like tweaking the pie. It's like, I've got this pie, and I'll admit it doesn't taste very good. And you can go to your local supermarket and get like a Sara Lee apple pie, and it'll be better. But it's like I finally have the tools now to be like, okay, like let's make this pie good. I've got a pie, and it's kind of interesting. It's like it's like a blueberry rhubarb apple pie. Nobody's really done anything like this before, so it's kind of cool. And it's like an upside down pie. It's served upside down. So players are kind of like, man, this pie's kind of weird. But it doesn't taste very good. But that's like a, that's a solvable problem, because I know it's just a matter of like iterating and giving it to playtesters and watching and then tweaking and, iterating. And then we're gonna get, I bake pies when it's in season. Although I haven't seen any fruit on sale recently, but so yeah, that is like, with each pie I make, I get a little bit better. So like with each build, I'm learning a little bit more about how I want to progress the game. Okay, so that is just like an example, an analogy that explains the problem and the state that I am in. So I am almost done with the game. You see, like, we were working on localization, man. We got that. So it's super close, and we've got a pie. It's not very good. Let's make this pie good and then open the restaurant. and invite everyone in. It's great. We've made a ton of progress. We've finished localization. I mean, we were just kind of showing some of the new visuals that I'm super happy with. Okay, so what are some of the design problems? And this is, a few things. And this sort of also took some time for me to figure out, because it was like I didn't know what I didn't know I was going to be making pies at the end. It was like, I thought initially I was like making hamburgers, and then you kind of tried a bunch of different things. So the big part with the game is I finally understand the core loop of it. And what that is that the game is not really, the focus of the game is not the puzzles. It is not a puzzle game. It is, I think, at its core, and the game at its core is about the exploration and perception of space as informed by geometry and architecture. So it's really about your experience with space, about walking through architecture, which is slightly different than what I had in mind when I first started, which was to make a straight up puzzle game. And that has that's an important realization because of how, because that informs the design philosophy with which the game is made. Because right, you have this core game loop, and I think a game like The Witness is very much puzzle first. Maybe The Witness even less than that, but what would I say is like a very like puzzle first game? I don't know. I guess like Space Chem, right? Space Chem here, it's really more about the puzzle solving. Like the reward is more puzzles. Whereas with Manifold Garden, that's not really the case. And that's not to say I want to have bad puzzles. Like in Skyrim, when they have puzzles, you're just like, why even bother? This is just an annoying... it's like you just got to put a triangle here and a square here and a circle here because the thing shows like... You just got to like mix and match until that. I don't even know why they bother putting those puzzles. So I don't want those kind of puzzles, right? I do want well-designed puzzles, but they're just not the focus of it. So it's not about like testing knowledge. So the puzzles exist to help you navigate the world, to help you understand. The puzzles exist to help you understand how the game works in order for you to navigate it. And really the reward is exploring a new space and interacting with it in a new way. Right, and the puzzle is more kind of a way to gate the player and then to increase like the dopamine when you get that reward. So I think that's like a really important loop for me to understand. Like what keeps you going forward is wanting to see a new space. Now that is not enough, and we're gonna kind of add some more, but realizing that like that's what the core idea of the game is very helpful. All right, so with the puzzles, there are a few problems. So this is the puzzles all do this thing out like this is a very typical area. You have your entrance here, and then you kind of have your like middle. This is like where the puzzle is, and then this is the exit. So the opening section kind of uses this formula. So it's like 1, 2, 3, and then there's this sort of repeat. So there's like an opening area, then you got your middle part, you do your puzzle, and then you come out the exit. So it's always like boom, that's like this loop. And that's sort of like, I got that idea from the dungeons in Skyrim, right? The way Skyrim works is it's open world, you can go anywhere and you can do whatever you want. But then they have these linear sequences, like you go inside the dungeon and it's a linear sequence, and it's like, okay, now I'm gonna, like, I was exploring and now I just gotta like kill enemies, and then there's like a thing at the end, right? And with Skyrim dungeons, it's very formulaic, but it's always like you go inside, there's some like skeletons, you kill them, then there's like a big monster, you kill them, and then there's like a cool new sword, and you get it, and there's the exit like right next to where the sword is, and then you come out of the sword. Or like sometimes you go inside and there's a door that's locked, you can't open it from this side, so you like kill some skeletons and you kill the like giant spider, you get the sword, you open the door, and it's the door that was at the beginning, and then you go out from the way you exited. So it's a very it's a very new so it's kind of very familiar. It's exploration contrasted with kind of these linear sequences, which like is what the game has here. Well, so where would you want to go? I mean, you want to go to the next space. So that is like on a very minimal level is like where, because like, so I'll come back to your question in a bit and explain that, and like kind of the philosophy that I'm trying to take with Manifold Garden. So we have these linear sequences, and the problem is because it's not this works like the first few times, but it doesn't, it gets boring much faster than the dungeons in Skyrim. You know, like I'm sure everyone here has played Skyrim, but it's, you know, for me, like I got kind of bored of Skyrim after 50 hours. It was like, oh, okay, I see what the game is doing, and I kind of like saw past the illusion, and you know, I looked up like the quest on Wikipedia. I was like, holy shit, I'm only a third of the way through, and I don't have all this time. So, but you know, you can probably go through like 50 dungeons before you get kind of sick of them, right? Because there's a few things. There's a few things going on with the dungeons. It's like, well, there's the element of danger, which is always exciting. Like you're excited about that, which I don't have. Like nothing's gonna kill you. There's just kind of like the joy of killing. Like gamers love killing things, man. It's so easy. Like here's like what's like every time I see a comment where it's like, where's the gameplay? It should just be like, where are the guns? Like, when do I get to kill people? Because it's like if your gameplay is like, I don't know, just like talking to people, that's apparently not gameplay. It's like, but if you get to shoot them, then like, yeah, there's the gameplay. So yeah, you know, you're like killing people. You might get killed, so that you're like kind of tense. It's like, you know, there's element of danger. Then there's like the big boss, which is always exciting. And yeah, you know, sometimes there are new vistas. Like for me, I was always excited about, like, I love some of the vistas where you go inside this dungeon and then there's like a skylight and you see this tree. I remember, I think it was like one of the religion quests in Skyrim. I love that part. Like I still remember, just you're like in this darkness and then you come down and there's this beam of light and this tree in the center. It was super sweet. So you have like the big boss, right, which is always exciting, and then you get your reward. Like you get this like big ass sword that lets you do things or whatever, right? And it opens up new quests. So, or advances the story. So I don't have any of that stuff, right? I don't have the stuff that makes it exciting. So what can I do? And this goes back to Prime TNT's question, which is like, what? Hey, abandon the ship. Thanks for the host. What kind of keeps you going, right? And so one of the things that I don't want to do, and I talk about the killing people as gameplay, is like, you know, people always ask, a lot of gamers ask, like, what's my objective and what is the gameplay? And it's always, I feel like in like 90% of the games, it's like your objective is kill this guy, and the gameplay is here's a gun. Right, like that's PUBG. PUBG is well, you don't have to kill them, but you just have to survive till the end. And the gameplay is like, here's guns and you collect ammo and like, right. But there's your objective, and I don't have that. And it's also I call it the like kill your wife at the beginning thing. Like so many AAA games to like give you a sense of purpose. You just kill your wife at the beginning. It's just like what's that game? Shadow of Mordor does that, right? It's like opens up, you just kill your wife, and it's like okay, now you have enemies, so kill them. Like Watch Dogs. I think they gotta kill your nephew. Like your nephew dies in like a car accident, and then you just like you're supposed to just go on a killing rampage, just like kill everyone because your nephew died in a car accident. So, and so Manifold Garden doesn't have that, which so it's like this very abstract sense, right? Like there is a story. Right now, I feel like 90% of games, like Dishonored, they kill they kill your wife. they kill your wife, kill the guy. Now you got to go and kill the guy that killed your wife. In the second one, they kill the other playable character, and then you're the other playable character, and you have to go kill the other person. Like they're all like that. What else? Hotline Miami is just like, just kill this person. I don't know. There's so much killing in games. So yes. So the goal is, so that's what it is, right? So what Manifold Garden has. So I have to think about like, what are the goals for players? The signaling that there is something, and I talk about that as a solved problem because it's actually quite easy to do. Like like the cookie clicker games, it's like there's nothing at the end, but you just want to know if I present you with a mystery, like your mind is just already like you just want to know what's next. Like I stopped watching Westworld because I was like, I don't think there's anything, you're doing anything. You're just like, they just show you something in an episode and they don't explain it. And then you're like, oh, I wonder what that is. And then the next episode's like, okay, oh, that wasn't that big of a deal. But then they show you something new and you're like, oh, I wonder what that is. Right? So it's a matter, so like that, the like dangling carrot in front of the player is very easy to do and is solved. So, hey, Implody, welcome back. So, there is that, like, you know, the thing with Tower Goose, I haven't played that, but you know, with all the games, it's like they always feel. You ever spend like 30 hours playing a Civ game, and the whole time, like when you're playing, it's the most important thing in the world, and then when you finish, it feels so anticlimactic. Has that ever happened to you where you're like I played Civ like twice a year, you know, I'll start on a Friday and then it's just like, you know, you don't finish till, and then like Monday morning it's like the last, you've conquered the entire world and it's just like you won, like the little pop-up, and you're just like, okay, you know, like I should eat and shower. You know, and it's just because it's like you just want to like find out the next thing, right? There isn't really anything at the end of Civ that's waiting for you. I mean, I like I love the game, right? It's really engaging, but you're also like there isn't really that payoff, I think. But yeah. So what was behind that door? So that's So it's the mystery, right? Like there was that thing on, I think they had this podcast once where they were talking about story, and it was like he just gave the example. He's like, you know, I wake up in the middle of the night, and but I hear these steps. I hear this sound on the steps, like, and it's the sound is getting a little bit closer, and it's weird because it's the middle of the night and nobody lives with me. And immediately I'm like, oh, what's that sound? And he's like, oh, it's just the wind. And you're like, oh, okay, but you know, before they reveal it, you're like, what is that? So so that is something that that Manifold Garden is not doing very well right now, and I'll admit it. And so remember how I talked about that linear dungeon sequence? Is so Manifold Garden does that with those. So you go inside. Here's an opening room. Here's a puzzle, and then you solve the puzzle, right? And at the end of the puzzle, for a gating mechanism, here you've got this gate. What it does is it gives you 2 cubes. So you have 1 cube to open the inside of the door, and then another cube to go out and power something. And that works the first time. It's like, oh, okay, I get like 2 cubes now. But what I did was I just started using this because I kind of wanted to focus on level design. Was I started using this same technique in everywhere throughout the game. So it's like, you know, like what makes you interested in the dungeons in Skyrim is there's like a new thing at the end of it. It's a new sword or like a new horse or like a new quest or something. But in Manifold Garden, it's just like a tree and you just get 2 cubes. And after the 5th time, you're like, okay, I'm going to do this puzzle. And the end is going to be like a tree and 2 cubes. So that's really boring. So I know that. And that's really important for me. I think it's really important to find people who can explain the issues to you in your game in a way that makes it understandable. And I've got this, there's this artist who's been playing through the game and talking to me about it. And like when he put it like that, it like immediately clicked, you know, it's like, he was just saying this and I was like, oh man, exactly, that's the problem. I couldn't even see that. Another problem that he pointed out is in a lot of the levels, I have, you know, so you have a puzzle. What's a puzzle? A puzzle is a lock and a key, right? When you strip it down, it's a lock and a key. You have a lock, and you got a key to open it. Like somebody was talking about. Anyway, let's go lock and key. And he was saying that a big problem that I have in the game, and this is a systematic problem, and it's so obvious, and I cannot believe I did not realize it for 5 years. So here's the BuzzFeed title, which is, this is one idea with puzzle design that will blow your mind. Puzzle designers hate this. Such a simple idea, I cannot believe I thought of it. Is that a lot of the problem with the later areas is that I show the player the key first and then the lock. The key first and then the lock, right? When really what you should be doing is like the lock first and then the key. So what you want is like, because what happens is, let's say when you find the key first, it's like, he sees the key and it's like, do I gotta hold on to this? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? Do I like leave it here because it's gonna have to be used with something around here, or do I like take it with me somewhere later? And this is amplified in Manifold Garden because you can only like carry 1 box at a time. You know, if it's like a game with like an inventory system, then you just like grab the key, right? Like those like point and click adventure games, you just grab it and use it later. But a much better puzzle idea design there is they see the lock first. They see this door and they can't get through, and then then they're like, "Huh, where's the key?" So immediately you've established the because the problem is when they get the key, they don't have an objective. I guess the goal is like, I gotta find a lock, but it's too, you know, there's like too many places you can go. Whereas if you see the lock immediately, it's like their goal is like, I want to get this thing open. So they're looking for the key, right? They're like, I don't know, this thing is closed. I gotta figure out how to open it, and then they start exploring the level. Right, so the exploration comes about when you look for the key, and then you always have a place to go to, right? So it's like, so that's, and when he pointed that out, I was like, man, you're absolutely right. I don't know why it took me so long to See, and that's like, oh man, now I see all these problems. So, all right. So these are they forward collapse at the start. Yeah, you know, like it's so simple. I don't know how I missed it. Honestly, I don't know how I missed it. I mean, I think it's like I like kind of like internalized that and was working with it like on a subconscious level for the beginning puzzles, and that worked. But then it was like I kind of like lost track of it for the later stuff. And then when it pointed out, I was like, man, that should be everywhere, right? It's like that core game loop is like lock, key, lock, key. You know, it's like a lock with like something new, so you got to like figure out, and then it's like a new mechanic, and you get like the dopamine rush, and then we have a puzzle that teaches you how to use that mechanic, and then you use that new mechanic that you just learned to now open the lock that you came across earlier, and that's like the loop, and like we rinse and repeat, right? Like lock involving new mechanic, discover new mechanic, learn to use new mechanic, learn to open lock. And like bada bing, bada boom, bada bing. And it's just like the game is like this loop, 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 and like cool architecture, loop, 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 like more intense stuff, and then it ends. And then you're like, oh, that was awesome. You know, like I write a good review on Steam. So, so yeah, that is the philosophy. So that is one realization, okay? And the other is, of course, so that means we need little things like, so I need to get rid of the tree gives you 2 cubes. So one example, and I did notice this with some of the other, so it's like the reward you get after you solve a puzzle, I can't keep doing the tree and 2 cubes. Well, I'm just explaining like level design, but I'm not going to repeat it because I've just been ranting and it's just taken like an hour to get here. But you'll just have to watch the VOD. This is a good one. I gotta post this one to YouTube. By the way, if you like the stream, you should follow the channel, like and subscribe, and add the game to your wish list on Steam. Okay, back to what I was saying, right? So the reward you get after the puzzle, the tree 2 cubes is too boring. And I had this thing too where, so I need like new ways of activating. Like why don't you like grow the tree and the tree turns on the door? You know, or just like new things like, and one of the problems, so for example, you know, I have the water mechanic, you can like bend water. So in order for me to know that you've solved the puzzle correctly, I had to have you grow a tree with the water and then use those trees and then like have 3 cubes on the tree to open the door, because the way right, so that had a problem because you need 2 cubes at least. You need at least 1 cube and 1 water to grow a tree, but if you need to bend the water, you need 2 cubes. So you see this thing that's got 3 cubes, and you start off with 2, and then you do all this water, and then you like grow a tree, and then you gotta like pick off 3 cubes, and then you like, it gives you 1 cube, and then you pick that off, and then you like go and grab the other 2 cubes, and it's like you gotta make this trip each time, and then you bring it here, and then you have that open door, right? So it's like even after you solve the puzzle, you have to grow the tree and like make 3 trips with the cubes to open that. Like that is the minimum. Anything more, like if I have you bending the water in more complicated ways, then you need even more cubes. So like using the number of cubes as a way to gate causes problems. So, and I kind of felt that with the water, especially because that was really annoying. So, for example, one of the things that I have is a water wheel. So, and that's really cool because it's in like, you know, all the Escher drawings you've seen, you know, like the Escher waterfall. And again, I had this idea like 5 years ago and then took it out. But you can see the water wheel is here, right? It's inside this. There it is. There is the water wheel. Well, when the water goes over a water wheel, it powers up the door, right? So like, I can get rid of all the cubes. Like I can give you as many cubes as you want, and none of those cubes will help you open the door. Like, you have to use the water. Solving the water alone opens up that door. So these are so that is the level design challenges that I'm facing, right? Okay, so we got to change the lock and key. So like part of it was I didn't figure out the core loop, right? So there's like multiple loops going on. So we have the first loop. This is the inside loop, which is you get a lock, right? This is the lock. You lock, you discover a new mechanic, you learn the new mechanic. These symbols don't mean anything. And then you use that mechanic to open up the lock. And we repeat. So this is the smallest loop in the game. Lock, new mechanic, learn mechanic, unlock. You know, and I guess you would learn mechanic explore. And in the meantime, you're sort of exploring. You know, on the second level loop is like, you know, your new area, and you have kind of like puzzles, and this, you know, you kind of get like the joy new area, you do puzzles, and that's sort of hard, and then that gives you like a new area that you can go to. This loop makes no sense, but that's like the bigger like loop puzzle like cool visual reward, exploration, you know, puzzles, and then it makes you feel like you earned it, right? So that's like the second loop. Now what we do is we start splicing in like some interesting things, like, okay, like maybe you learned a new movement. You can like, now you can change gravity from much farther away. Like later on, you learn you can like do no clip. So, you know, like we do this is like the bigger loop. And then of course, then there's like the big objective for the game, right? Like ultimately there's like this final door that you want to open. So you collect some, you know, and you learn that there's like this meta game, and ultimately like you're still like lock new mechanic, learn new mechanic, like there's that going on. You're also like seeing new areas, you're solving puzzles, and you're rewarded with new visuals and new mechanics. But at the end, all of that is working towards this like final goal of like opening up the final area and then just getting the ending, right? So that is the loop, and now I understand this. So anyway, this picture encompasses what Manifold Garden is. And the thing is, in order to get here, I had to build all the technical stuff for the game, right? Like I had to learn just, you know, like all that level loading, unloading, UI. It's all invisible work, localization, button remapping, but all of that is needed just in order to like hold up this thing. So anyway, that is, you know, I got an artist now who's going to be helping with the game. All the tech is done, so I'll be focusing on level design, visual design, pacing. You know, we're going to be doing we got a really awesome group of beta testers. We got people who are interested in the game who can record video and send me the feedback so I can start getting feedback. So like all the pipeline for that is in place, and I got like mentors to kind of help me, and I got other game designers I can talk to. So, and I feel like I've got a very clear idea of like what the problems are and how to address them. And there's also little stuff like, so one thing, for example, you know, I talked about these crazy visual things. So, you know, a cool way of providing some mystery is these things, like, you know, this is kind of multiple parts. Imagine it being like imagine it being like these things are inside these little glass cages. Like at the beginning, like you come across them, you're like, what the hell does this thing do? You don't know. It's just inside this like glass cage. But then like after you solve the main puzzle, that opens up and it forms this. And now you're like, oh, like, you know, there's sort of the dopamine of seeing the visual. A lot of people, I mean, I think at this point, so my techniques at this point is going to be different than something you might use. You know, at the beginning, I went to like GDC, I talked to people. Now there's like there's a lot of people interested in Manifold Garden who just want to help. Like one of this guy, you know, I was looking for an artist and he emailed me. He's like, look, I can't be an artist. I'm super busy with my own stuff. He's a painter. did stuff with Magic the Gathering before. So he's got like a really good eye, but he's like, you know, I'm happy to like kind of talk to you through this stuff. So that's like, you know, I feel like I've got a pretty decent, you know, a lot of people like are excited about the game and they know about the game. So that's a little bit easier for me. Yeah, a lack of variety, exactly, right? And I'm at that point now where I can easily do, hey, I like this. Hey, did somebody unlike it? So, you know, yeah, lack of variety, but you know, so it's easier for me now to handle that stuff because we have the system. Like all objects have to descend from a certain class because so like on a very basic level, an object in the game, doesn't matter what it is, if you can carry it around, it has to handle wool wrapping, it has to handle like going between different levels, it has to handle like saving loading states. Like there's all this. It's like we basically had to build our own physics engine for game objects, and now I can finally start doing variety. So yeah, because that's what I'm talking about, right? So this is all the stuff that makes the pie. This is the pie component, and like I said, it's a solved problem, is, you know, and we've got the pipeline. There's like a bunch of testers who wanna, you know, a bunch of people who are really into pie, and they want to help me make the pie the best pie I can. So all right, I've been doing a lot of talking, and I've been streaming for a while, so I'm going to take a break. Yeah, I feel like I've been doing a lot of talking. Pipe. So anyway, I'll stick around for a bit. Let me know if you guys have any questions about what I said, if that stuff makes sense, if there's anything I can do to improve it, like oh, my Amazon order didn't come. I ordered a water floss. Getting plaque. I don't know. You ever go to the dentist? It's like, it doesn't matter how much I brush. They tell me I need to be brushing more. I brush like 3 times a day. Anyway. All right. It looks like there are no questions. Well, you know, we're on Discord, so you guys can ping me there. Yeah, so that's our approach. I just kind of want to give you guys a status. What? What? You removed the video. Well, just ping me on Discord and we'll update the... Okay. Well, let's so... Is there a pie command? Oh, there it is. I haven't watched this, so I hope it's not bad. Okay, that is it. I started streaming. Oh, this is not even. I'd streamed for like. I don't know. Did I? I guess. Oh yeah. I guess I started at 3:30. So. All right. Yeah, I definitely need to. I've not been very good at exporting my videos to YouTube, but I think this is a good one. So I will do that. All right, I'm gonna take a break, get some food, maybe go to the gym. Yeah, it's Friday, so you know what? I'm gonna go to the gym and do some exercise, and we will. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to like tackling this level design. It's been wanting to do this up for the longest time. And now 5 years later, finally getting to the fun stuff. Okay, well, thanks for hanging out as always. Hit me up if you have questions on Discord, Twitter, or if you like the stream, you should follow the channel. Add the game to your wish list. And I don't know if I will. I've been not gonna promise if I'm gonna stream this weekend. I have been doing better work-life management and like taking it easy on the weekends, and then that's made me a lot overall I think a lot more productive, just generally happier. And basically, so my roommate Thew, you guys should all check his stuff out. Aerobat, he's actually giving a talk tomorrow at this Chicago dev meetup, Indie City Games. It's at 1 p.m. in Chicago. Normally he gets about like 4 p.m. on Saturdays, but he's gonna talk about like the VFX and all the visuals of that. So I'm gonna go to that talk in the afternoon. So okay, everyone, have a good one. I'll see you later.